Building Blocks, 2025 in Tel Aviv. The future of tech.
Guys, if you want to learn how to build a unicorn, or if you want the opportunity to invest in a unicorn by going to these people later and giving them their money, this is the right panel for you to sit in on. So, Itai Litzur from Market Across, can you please come here? Itai? Itai, I know that Yoni, your panelists are already coming in.
Yeah. No, it's all good. It's all good. Let's riff it.
It's all good. This is Israel. All right, I'm going to get down.
Yeah, so we were supposed to be 4 in the panel, but unfortunately, Yoni Assia is being held captive by his lawyers with a gag until they successfully complete their public offering, which we all wish them a lot of good luck for. All right, perfect. We're going to try and make up for Yoni's energy, which is not an easy thing to do. But we have 2 very captivating founders with us. So yeah, first of all, very, very briefly, who are you and what do you guys do?
I'll start. Yeah. All right. First of all, I want to thank the Houthis for bringing all the captive audience over here.
Great traffic.
Back from lunch. Yeah.
Thank you for the airdrop.
For the airdrop. That's good. I'm Idan Ofrat. I'm a Chief Product Officer and co-founder at Fireblocks. Fireblocks is a digital asset management platform. Essentially, we enable businesses to run all their digital assets / crypto operations on their day-to-day and build services on top of a blockchain. We have over 2,000 customers today across many different segments, banks, payments companies, DeFi hedge funds, gaming platforms, essentially the largest vendor today in the market.
Have you got a call from Bybit yet or not yet?
If I got what, sorry?
Bybit, did they call you? Never mind.
First of all, Bybit is a customer of ours. Alongside what they used for their less secure business, which was safe. And now hopefully they're moving everything into Fireblocks.
Perfect. Yeah, we actually represent Bybit. So it was an interesting few weeks. Eli?
I'm Eli Ben-Sasson. I'm co-founder and CEO of StarkWare, which is a company that sits in the northern part of Tel Aviv, also known as Netanya. And what else can I say? I envy Yoni for finding a brilliant solution to tell his wife why he's late.
Yeah, it's like I have to shower the kids. He's been IPOing for 5 years. So I'm sorry.
I'm with the IPO. Don't bother me now. I'm going to try it a little bit. I don't think it's going to work in my case.
All right, perfect. Let's just kind of dive into it. So I don't think we can start without talking about Wiz, largest exit, I think, in Israeli tech history. At a point where, at least the narrative, and we're a narrative-based industry sometimes, seems to be not very positive. Were you surprised? Do you think this is a pivotal moment like ICQ was for the tech scene or whatever? Like, how do you as founders, does your life change a day before or a day after the Wiz deal?
Yeah, you know what's crazy? A day after the acquisition of Wiz was announced, there was an announcement of another acquisition of a company called Next Insurance.
That's correct, for 2.7.
For 2.6 or $7 billion. It wasn't even in the headlines.
Yeah.
That's the crazy thing. Now it's
that might be a PR problem. They can call us.
It's a PR problem. Like, it's a disaster for their PR agency. But I think that overall for the industry, it's a great thing because it means that it's becoming probably something much more common. Right, and I think it's an indication for the maturity of the industry. Now, if an acquisition of a company that is worth over $2 billion is something that is just a daily thing, I think it shows how much the industry matured from what we had 15 years ago when we had those headlines of a company that raised another $4 million. I think that's really good. And I think that the reason for that is that if you look at the tech industry in Israel 15 or 20 years ago, it was mostly tech companies that were looking for a problem or for a market. Now what you see is really businesses. Companies like Wiz, companies like Next Insurance, and companies like ours already have real business and
but with Wiz, you
generate
can
revenues.
with Wiz, you can see that this is a strategic acquisition by Google that will be, I think, a core part of their business line for years and years. Some people are saying that they bought this so Asaf will be their next CEO. Like a lot of big talks. But do you guys? Does this help you as validity? Because again, we're not going to get into politics, but there's always this, oh, we're from Israel type of a narrative above us.
Yeah.
Do you think that's going to help for the people who are questioning the industry as an industry? That could be potential clients, it could be VCs, it could be a lot of people. It's a gushpanka, I would say, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it raises the bar not just for cybersecurity, but for any tech company. And I think it also creates kind of more liquidation opportunities for companies, because some companies are afraid that at some point, if they don't go public, they will not have any path forward that is not just
we're going to get that in a second,
revenues.
even though Yoni's not here. We're still going to ask that.
To me, I think the biggest takeaway from the Wiz deal is something that we already know, but it reinforces something. And what
Cyber has good multiples.
Well, not just that. I agree, but there's a different point related to it, which is Israel is known as startup nation, and it's also known as cyber nation. Now, I think by logical extension, there's a very good chance for making Israel crypto nation. All the hallmarks and all the ingredients that have made Israel into cyber nation, the deep tech, the cryptography, the engineering, the speed, the innovativeness, the entrepreneurship, all of this are extremely related also to crypto. So I think it should be our mission, especially let's say the big companies within crypto in Israel today, it should be our mission to add to Israel's startup nation pedigree, right? The cyber nation. We should make Israel crypto nation.
Perfect. So I'm going to continue on a nonlinear path in our panel with that. So as you said correctly, I think we're known as startup nation. That could have been cybersecurity nation for a long time. Casual gaming nation, ad tech nation, a lot of those that we're really, really known for. And a lot of that has to do, I think, historically with the sought after, I would say, golden children of Israeli tech, and that could be Shmone Echad, Shmone Matayim, Mamram, that are part of this event. It seems like in 2020, 2021, there was a bit of a surge of these guys looking at blockchain and Web3. That could be through security startups, by the way. It could be through different, cheaper or whatever, Fireblock knockoffs, etc. So do you think that that's still the case? Do you think that the next round of these entrepreneurs, the Team 8 kind of people, will be building crypto, or did we lose them to AI and cyber for good? Go for it.
I'll just say the big competition today is AI. And of course, cyber is has been around, and certainly it's an amazing opportunity. And,
nothing better than programmers working on the tech that will replace them. I love that.
Yeah. But I think, certainly now after the Trump election and the surge in Bitcoin price, so I think we'll see a resurge and a renewed interest in crypto within Israeli entrepreneurship. Of course, yes, AI is a very dominant news story, and rightly so. That's fine. And cyber, yes, will continue to be. But I think and that's fine. But definitely, I think we'll see more crypto startups starting here, and that's really great.
What about, for 1 second, what about startups that are core startups that are Web 2 that will also be doing blockchain and crypto or whatever? We see, by the way, Checkpoint, they're here. Checkpoint is building, I would say, kind of a business line to go for these type of things. How about we break that Chinese wall and we just get the normal tech to also be doing blockchain? But what are your thoughts, Idan, about how do we attract the best developers?
Yeah, so by the way, I think it's the other way around. What I see is that actually now there is more interest, at least here in the local industry, than what we had in 2021, 2022. In 2021, 2022, I think that actually there was a lot of skepticism here around crypto and blockchain, and everything looked like just one big scam. And now over the last...
now with meme coins, we're doing so much better.
Yeah, honestly, although meme coin might be a kind of another form of this thing, I think actually it's getting this tailwind, not just from regulators, but from all over. You see what happens in the States, you see what happens in Europe, and I think people see it here. I think it's now much more mainstream. So what I see at least, and I think we'll see it maybe materializing in a year or two, is that we see many more, you said the 8.1, 8.200 graduates, I see much more of them, many more of them, like looking at the space.
Cool. So I love that we're all setting up the next questions. We can't not talk about U.S. Regulations, optimism. I always tell my clients, not always, it's pretty new, but we're telling our clients that we live in a world that the President of the United States is shilling Cardano on Twitter. And that's just a fact that we have to live with. Do you think the industry or maybe the market was a bit too optimistic too quickly? And it looks like we all thought that it's to the moon now and reserves everywhere and whatever. Or do you think that optimism is correct? Because it seems like we all thought that is the first day of the rest of our lives, but we also need to remember that erratical players are still erratical players.
I think there are three main blockers to global adoption. Regulation, UX, and scale. So certainly regulation has vastly improved because of the new election and, the US election. That's dramatically improved in the US. Ironically, in Europe, they seem to be taking steps in the opposite direction with Mika and other things. And I hear from a lot of our counterparties in Europe that that things are not necessarily moving in the right direction. But the US is certainly the most dominant force in the world. So definitely regulation has improved. UX is improving, still has a little bit of ways to go. I think those of you, I'm guessing everyone here in the audience already has either a Bravos or an Argent wallet on StarkNet. If not, you should, and you'll see what Web 2 UX with Web 3 security looks like. Not that I want to shill StarkNet.
But you did, but it's all good.
Objectively speaking. And then the third, so that's UX. The third thing is scale. And, I already shilled something.
Yeah, I was going to say, StarkWare really offers scale, doesn't it?
No, but okay, yeah.
We do offer
scale.
All good, Eli.
We do solve it, but
we're in a friend zone.
I know. Scale is the third problem, or the third blocker to global adoption. I do think StarkWare, alongside others, and StarkNet offer a pretty damn good solution. So you should check it out. But irrespective of that, those are the three impediments. Regulation is now vastly improved.
But that's the question. Has regulation vastly improved, or has the narrative around regulation vastly changed? And by the way, change doesn't mean improved.
It's definitely improved. Okay. I think that the fact that we didn't see this crazy bull run over the last 2-3 months is actually good.
The president said there's going to be a national crypto reserve, and the market didn't move. That was enough to take us to 3 years of insanity.
I think that's good, because I think that actually shows that there is something a bit more controlled that will bring the mainstream, because if it was just this crazy thing around the Trump meme coins and that's it, so it would probably vanish in just a few weeks.
Also, Trump stablecoin announced 2 days ago by Liberty Finance, his DeFi project, that his DeFi project is going to launch a stablecoin. What a time to be alive!
Really?
Yes.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Every time you think you saw the weirdest thing in crypto, you wake up and
it's not predictable. And actually, as opposed to what Eli said, in Europe, I actually think that it's going into the right direction, because
for a company like Fireblocks, without Mika, a bank can't even know how to work with it.
What businesses are looking for is not a better regulation. They are looking for regulatory clarity, right? What happened in Europe was that most of the businesses were just sitting on the fence, looking to see what happens. Now they have all these buzzwords, right? Dora and Micah and so on. Now they know how to operate, and now you see actually more folks coming in with stablecoins and other forms of digital assets.
That's a bit also has to do with, I think, a lot of this discussion in America around Ripple and Coinbase and those kind of issues with the SEC. As the companies are saying, you end up going to give me a fine that I'm happy to pay. I'm happy to pay 4 times the fine you're going to give me in the end, just to let me run my business. And that's what we've been seeing, that the SEC has been going after these companies for years and years, and then giving them what they gave Block One, I think like $20 million. They raised $3 billion. It was insignificant. So interesting, and actually, for a company like Fireblocks, the necessity of a framework is even more important than a positive or negative, because then they know what they can do. All right, cool. So what's the next few years looking like for you guys as founders, as for your companies? We were going to ask Yoni to try and get him to say something, but as I said, he's now tied up or whatever. But What are Fireblocks thinking about?
Right.
Again, no dates, no whatever.
No, if Yoni was here, you would ask me, right?
Yeah. What are you doing?
When do you go public, right?
Yeah. Who's going to go bigger?
I'm not going to give any statement on that, although it's something that we're naturally looking for. The next 2-3 years, and I think it goes back to your question around regulation, is I think we're going to see massive growth in crypto and digital assets coming mostly from payments or payments-like use cases. And what Fireblocks is now doing is actually preparing for this moment to come. It has already come. You see, without getting into kind of specific numbers, we see huge increase in the number of transactions in the system already around payments and payouts. And if you look at even just the existing customer base of Fireblocks today, and I'm including only the retail platforms, those that serve end users or consumers, they have reached to over 1 billion users. Now, naturally, not all of them use digital assets today because some of them are coming from the Web 2 space. But if in the next 2 years they're going to integrate Web3 into their experience, what you're going to see is at least a billion people. Maybe in some cases they won't even know about the underlying technology, but they will enjoy the benefits of blockchain and crypto.
What I also feel that I think for a company like Fireblocks is right now most likely the clientele that you have, I hope, is a bit more resilient to the next wave, because I remember talking to people in your team that I know very well. They said, look, last wave we were killing it, but at some point 7 or 8% of our clients in 3 months don't exist anymore. It has nothing to do with you guys, it has to do with the industry. So it does feel like the players today are a bit more set for black swan events that will be happening in the industry, because that's how it goes. Do you see that as well, that it's a bit more of a resilient industry these days?
Yeah, I think the industry overall learned that this market kind of works in cycles, right? There is a down market and up market, and now they are much more resilient. But something that is more specific to Fireblocks is that we actually have a much more diverse set of customers today than what we had before. So even if one market or one segment is down, you have another segment, another market that is going up. It might be that Bitcoin is going down, but stable coins is going up. And so I think that also us as a platform, since we are pretty much agnostic to the specific activity that happens on the blockchain and we serve everyone, it's kind of an edge against those kind of events.
Perfect. You guys did a pretty big move into Bitcoin. Looks like a lot of your hopes and aspirations stand with that asset or area. Do you want to tell us a bit why and what?
Yeah. So for those of you who don't know, Bitcoin is a pretty big asset in crypto, $2 trillion plus, the biggest. So everyone loves it, but in terms of expressibility and UX and safety, it's not that convenient to work with it. And there's a lot of stuff that people who are in crypto would like to do, basically base more of the economy or the kind of economic activities on Bitcoin, and it's very hard to do it today. So you want, for instance, to generate yield on your assets. That's true, if you have dollars or shekels in the bank, you would like to generate yield on them in a safe and secure way. It's very hard to do on Bitcoin. We're going to offer that on StarkNet. You would like to participate in all kinds of economic activities, use it as collateral and lend against it, borrow against it, or offer it as lending and get yield on it. You would like to participate in trading or be a market maker, all of the stuff that you can do in other places of crypto. It's very hard to do it with good UX, good expressibility, meaning a lot of different economic activities, and good safety. And this is exactly where StarkNet and StarkWare can come in. We are the largest blockchain infrastructure company, not just in Israel, but in the world, meaning a company that is building basically a blockchain. And we're certainly the best. And we built an amazing capacity in terms of performance. We have the cheapest L2. We're 15x cheaper on a transaction than Arbitrum, for instance. We have the highest throughput on Ethereum. We are running at almost 1,000 TPS right now, and with our just latest release, we're going to probably something like 3 to 4x on that, meaning we'll reach the several thousand TPS, which is why we have native on-chain gaming and stuff like that. So we have the capacity to serve much more on Bitcoin in a safe way with good UX and good safety and good expressibility. That's what we want to offer.
Do you guys see Bitcoin more as a baseline asset that needs to, guys want to build like more DeFi around it as an asset? Or do you guys think that Bitcoin and Bitcoin L2s like you guys or stacks or whatever will actually become a place for application building? As in Bitcoin will be the actual blockchain infrastructure, or is it more gold?
The way I view it is that there are, today, if you look like, there's really only two networks that are at the highest level of decentralization.
I'm going to guess StarkWare is one of them.
No, we will be
Oh,
there.
okay.
We're on the route to get there.
Okay.
No, but I honestly, right now, we're not decentralized enough. We are the ones among all L2s with the most credible and fastest moving path to get there. Most of the L2s are actually very happy and fine.
Sequencers are great. They love it.
Yeah. Operating just in a centralized fashion. So the two, of course, are Bitcoin and Ethereum. And Bitcoin is, of course, number one in terms of decentralization, censorship resistance, human freedom, human sovereignty, which are really, really the main things that blockchain are about. Don't get fooled by all of the centralized stuff that is offered to you as, wrappers to basically some corporation. That's not crypto, and it won't last, even though there's a lot of fun going on base.
But Eli, I think that we talked about that, and Fireblocks can tell you that crypto's best use case is making fiat faster. That's what we're doing,
I think that in order to make fiat faster on crypto, you need decentralization, because otherwise, if the end game is just new rails for centralized things, so at some point, Bank of America or some huge financial institution, Deutsche Bank or I don't know what, is going to come in and say, we're going to run this one server that maybe uses Solidity or hopefully Cairo for running stuff, but basically we'll just run this big server, and then all of the rest of crypto just dies. So, and I don't think that's the way it's going to end up being. I think that true decentralization really matters, and the places you'll see it. Here's an example. Imagine a Bybit-like hack happening tomorrow on, even Solana or on
They
Base.
have the restart button. It's really easy.
What?
Solana has the restart button.
Yeah, exactly. So these things are inevitably going to happen, and you will see, in spite of all the regulatory, freedom, you will see, the Department of Justice or even Trump himself saying, "Hey, Tolly,
Get these people their money back.
yeah, this can't fly," and Tolly will comply, right?
Yeah, what's the
Not-
argument that blockchain might not need to be decentralized? What's the are we back into discussion of 2008?
No,
I think everyone agrees that.
Right. So if it must be decentralized, I'm going back to like Bitcoin. Bitcoin and Ethereum today are the two decentralized systems, which means you want to put a lot more economic activity, not just in the case of Bitcoin holding it or hodling it. You want to put a lot more economic activity on top of this decentralized infrastructure. And today you cannot. So StarkNet will be this fully decentralized thing that has the full safety of Bitcoin, but operates at a much higher scale and offers better UX and better expressibility. I have 100% conviction that it is both needed, and we will get there. So that's why we're heading there.
Perfect. All right, great. We actually have a fair amount of time, and I don't have a lot more questions. I might want to open up for the crowd, but I'm going to go a bit off script. So 3 founders here, 2 unicorn founders, 1 really, really not unicorn founder. But I can't say 3 things that are similar. One thing that's similar to all 3 of our companies, it's very apparent that the companies have a very strong Israeli connection. And at every point you guys could have companies decided to dilute that a lot more, I'm sure. How much of a challenge is that in today's environment? We don't have to go into specifics or whatever, but again, Fireblocks is seen as an Israeli company. It's not just Israeli, of course, but you guys haven't tried it to masquerade that. When StarkNet went, when their coin went live, the amount of anti-Semitism I saw on Telegram was just insane. So how challenging is that for you guys as founders today to still, like, do you deal with that a lot? Do you deal that with clients? Is that a part of your lives?
I'll answer. I mean, it's the reality is that, as an Israeli and someone Jewish, you drink with your mother's milk certain things. And one of them is this sad realization that you're viewed a little bit differently, right? For better and for worse. So I think,
but in Ethereum, when the head of DevReals is Free Palestine, huge activist, and tweeting actively all day against that's a subject that happens, you know.
Yeah. And in the early aughts, when all of the brilliant quantum physics and theoretical physicists out there were ostracized and so on. I mean, even though they were advancing all of humanity, and I mean, so I'm saying that's what you drink with your mother's milk. Right?
So it motivates you guys, maybe.
It's like it's part of your life, I guess. I wish things were different, but it's.
I can tell you from my personal experience, and it's just very maybe observational. Almost all the founders that work with us, some of them even like gave money to Cryptoid Israel without people knowing or whatever. The B2B is like, we love you guys, we whatever. But sometimes there's this little. They're like, we're afraid of one guy in the community starting to tweet and saying, why do we work with these whatever baby killers? But I've never, ever had an actual person saying we have an issue. There's a lot of like FUD of what will people say about us. But we have seen that does exist for us.
Yeah. I haven't seen it much personally. I mean, I haven't encountered much of that personally. But actually, after October 7th, we did have a dilemma as a company. There were some geographies where clients didn't really, there were a few prospects that didn't want to work with us. And then some of our sales people told them, maybe let's just not tell that we're an Israeli company and let's maybe try to kind of tone it down a bit, like the Israeli identity. And we as founders, we told them, hell no, this is a core part of who we are for better and for worse, right? This is what we are. This is part of our culture. And if someone doesn't want to do business with Fireblocks because of who we are or where the company is based, good luck. We'll not do business with them.
Amen. I have to say that we believe in that as well. So I actually want to open the floor for some questions because I don't know how many opportunities you guys will have to ask founders like these some questions. Yes. Yalla.
Yalla.
Okay, first.
Here, go.
All right, no, I have this.
Okay, they're not going to ask me the questions.
No. So first question is from someone from Fireblocks. So when is the IPO done? Just for me to get ready.
My
No, I'm
options?
kidding.
Yeah.
No, I'm kidding. Okay.
I took an advice from Yoni, and I'm not going to comment on that.
All right. Any
wait, I want to answer that. I'm going to start from this evening playing the IPO thing in my family. I'm going to see how it works.
Nice.
Exactly
All
as you
right.
said. I can't do the dishes, honey.
IPO.
There's an IPO.
But by the way, last time I made a comment in a conference about an IPO, the next thing that happened was that I came back to the office, and then our employees started asking me questions about it. So not gonna tell anything.
That's funny.
So the first question, because no one's volunteering, I know the first question is the hardest. So we're
There's someone volunteering.
Oh, okay. Wow. I'm coming.
It's going to be
you.
a good one.
That's an interesting hair. I can see her in
I've
Web3.
so much hype for what you're going to ask. Let's see.
Yes, I love what he's gonna ask.
Hello.
No pressure.
For StarkNet, do you consider quantum resistance kind of a mechanism? That is something you consider for the future in terms of encryption and all these things around it?
I'll ask this in a non-technical manner. Is quantum computing going to kill all of our jobs?
I really hope because so I
you
want to
said
thank
yes?
the gentleman. Wait, I want to. You may know this, but actually ZK Starks are post-quantum secure. So I am very much in favor of a quantum computer arriving tomorrow at very large scale because pretty much a lot of cryptography will need to be replaced with things that are ZK Stark based. So I would love for it to come, and certainly the closer it comes and arrives, the more we can offer the world. You know, we already have a ZK Stark-based signature scheme, which, by the way, as a signature scheme, it's way better to use ZK for signature schemes than just general stuff. And we can be very quickly ready to service all of blockchain with post-quantum secure cryptography. So I would very much hope for it to happen. Thank you for the question.
Yeah. So, by the way, why doesn't it say Dr. Eli Ben-Sasson?
Professor,
Professor, actually.
Exactly. I knew you were going to say that. That's what you say to every professor if you tell him a doctor. And we have another professor here. So, Professor Ilan Alon, please.
Thank you. I'd like to know how you see the post-Trump administration changes affecting your competitive landscape.
I can say just for me, I'm the most not interesting person here, but I can tell you that
I can concur with that.
Thank you. Yeah, you're not that better.
Okay.
Our clientele, you can really see where their narrative is. So about 2-3 years ago, it was America out. Everything is Asia, Asia, degen. How do we get to Singapore? How do you put us in Korea, Taiwan, Hong Kong, and a lot of that. And now I see all of our clients sending us, oh, what about this event in Iowa? Or, oh, what do you guys have for local media in St. Louis? So I can see that, at least on our end, it looks like the narrative is that the retail is going to come from there as well. But that's what I'm seeing, just on the narrative end.
Yeah, I think, by the way, that's one of, I think, the main reason, right, why the Trump administration did it. They have come to a realization that if they're not going to take an action soon, someone else will, right? The crypto kind of hub will be China, Europe, whatever.
Dubai.
Right?
Dubai was kicking their ass.
Yeah, right.
My big, actually, okay, obviously the Trump administration's position towards crypto is generally very good. I'm actually very worried by too much of a government and nation state, bear's hug to crypto, because actually, again, to me, if crypto does become centralized, and certainly there are a lot of centralized and central hubs. If it becomes too centralized, then in my view, it just dies. It loses all utility and value. Because again, maybe the specific smart contract language or some peer-to-peer protocol is good to replace Swift or whatever it is that people are using, but that's not crypto anymore. That's just Swift. So if anything, and in the context of Bitcoin, which is, we are advocating actively for OpCat and generally for soft forks. So it is because I'm deeply worried of ossification, in which it basically just becomes some asset class that is then held by very large traditional financial parties. And then, first of all, it doesn't serve its real mission, which is empowerment of individuals and freedom. It just fails on that. And also it becomes this very non-interesting, at least to me, asset class, right? Another Rolex or Picasso for rich people to hold. And personally, I'm not interested in that. I'm interested in the empowerment, in making the digital space more free and something like a public domain, which is really what crypto is about. So I like what the Trump administration is doing. I'm also deeply worried by too many financial institutions and regulators coming too quickly to embrace it. I think that could be a choke of death.
I personally can't agree more, because I think that, again, I'm not a technological person, but I'm a marketer.
And also, no one asked you. This is for the panelists.
Yeah. No, but the thing has to do with why were people on Facebook? Because it was cool, but then everyone left Facebook. If Bitcoin is all going to be held by Michael Saylor, nation states, and ETFs, you might actually see people going to say, all right, that's, it's not that cool, it's not that whatever anymore.
You will see that. They will
I'm not
leave.
going to say it's not be worth money, but you're going to see a lot more of a rise of people saying, all right, we lost that one, let's do something else.
Yeah, it's true, although I could say that the counter-argument is that blockchain or even Bitcoin is a technology more than an asset. And if at some point Bitcoin becomes too much centralized, there will be a move towards something that is more decentralized, right? So I think that the essence itself of like StarkWare, right?
I was gonna say you had a plug, and I was like waiting for you, but you did it.
So do we have another question for Itai? Yeah.
Hi guys, Jesse Ginsburg from Maxi. First of all, thank you, Eli. Thank you, Idan, for speaking to us today. Thank you, Itai, for moderating. My question's for Eli. How do you bring bring Bitcoin to DeFi without wrapping it? Like, how do you bring it onto an L2 without turning it into a synthetic asset? And if you are, is that really Bitcoin? Or how do you do it without changing the opcode?
All right, set the clock for an hour and a half, and take it away.
Okay. The end state should be OPCAT, which is a soft fork that many are advocating for, which allows you to self-custodially, in the safest way, settle Starks onto Bitcoin. So you basically have all of the safety of Bitcoin now apply to StarkNet and other technologies. Okay, that's the end state. What can we do in the middle stages? Well, we can start by offering things that will go through multi-sigs, safe ones, hopefully. And we can work with the indexer-based assets that are already emerging on Bitcoin, runes, BRC20s, ordinals like that, develop that a bit more. These are all sort of inspirations and things to help us sort of advocate for the end state, which I think is necessary for Bitcoin, which is to allow scale and to achieve Satoshi's words, right? The first sentence of his second paragraph in the white paper, we need a cryptographic way to allow any two parties to transact in a trustless manner with no intermediary, which clearly Bitcoin is failing today. So we need to reach that. And in the middle steps, we want just to offer expressibility, good UX, work with the Bitcoin community, bring assets there, and hopefully this will help the conversation.
I love it's like a scripture thing. Perfect. I sure have nothing to add here. All right, great. So we're going to cut it 2 or 3 minutes early. Okay. And we'll ask our esteemed founders to stay here for a minute or two. Maybe people want to come and address you guys. And
can we ask a serious question about lessons from...
as opposed to all the non-serious questions.
Yeah, no, Bitcoin. How do you bring Bitcoin in EVM? That's too hard. I mean, I want to ask both of you, and especially Eli, because I know Idan's answer. When did you know you have product market fit? And Idan, to you guys as well. Like, what was that point when you said, okay, I think this is it?
I will say very honestly, I don't feel comfortable to say that we have product market fit. What comforts me is that I think crypto does not yet have product market fit on the scale that it's supposed to have. But it will be evident in the, I think I really like this Google toothbrush test. So I heard that like in Google, when they looked at investing in things, they said, we want to invest in something that passes the toothbrush test, which says, what is a toothbrush? It's something that everyone uses once or twice a day and finds value in it. Now we are, for all of crypto, but I'll say also for StarkNet, we're not yet at a stage where my friends, my family use it once or twice a day and finds value in it. And I think we probably all agree to this. I think no one can look around at their greater families and friends and say crypto is this thing that you use once or twice a day and find value. But when we know it, we'll know it when we see that, and I hope it happens on StarkNet first, right? That everyone is going to be using it once or twice a day for payments, credit cards, for basically doing things that are related to societal networks and to empowerment. But we're not there yet.
Goldie, what do you think my answer is for that?
When you hired Goldie, of course.
Yeah. No, I think for Fireblocks, it was probably during the 2020, I guess, COVID, when that started. At about the same time, Fireblocks it went from a company that was calling people to offer them Fireblocks to a company that was getting nonstop phone calls that they want our product and they're ready to sign now over the call. Now, can I even fax you the contract?
Yeah, so that's true, but I'm going to answer it in a bit more philosophical way, because I think that a company never really reaches kind of a product market fit is not a very well-defined thing, right? You don't really know when you have product market fit. It's product and market. So you need a product that is suitable for a specific market. And I think that the first time that we had it was with a very specific segment, which was asset managers and trading firms in the crypto space. And the product that we had for them even back in 2019 was suitable for them. So we had product market fit. Then we expanded to more markets, and then we had to look for another product market fit. And I think this is kind of an ongoing thing that you need to do all the time. The next cycle that is going to be with Web 2 companies coming into the Web 3 space, we'll need to build another product for them that is suitable for that market, right? So I think that's kind of the long answer, but yours is acceptable as well.
All right, perfect. Thank you very much. Right.
Thank you.
Building Blocks 2025 in Tel Aviv.